Welcome to our Sunday morning meditation service. I'm going to do a call and you're going to respond, hopefully. So just relax. I don't care if you lay down or on the pew or sit on the floor or, it's up to you. I want you to be not aware of your body.
To the light within, coming home to you. Coming home to you. Coming home to you. Coming home to you. Oh, my beloved, Creator of all life, breath of life, I bow to you. Divine Master, divine friend, breath of life, I bow to you. And I'm coming home. And I'm coming home. And I'm coming home. And I'm coming home. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Day Namo. Coming home to the light within. Breath of light, I bow to you. Breath of light, I bow to you. Coming home 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 to you. Om Namo Guru Day Namo. Om Namo Guru Day Namo. Coming home to the light within. Coming home to the light within. Coming home to you. 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 Coming home to you.
Good morning, everyone. let's start this morning reviewing the essence of A Course in Miracles. Can we have this first PowerPoint, please? These are the essential truths that are related in A Course in Miracles. Healing one's life requires healing one's mind. Healing one's mind requires spiritual practice and takes time. One's progress on the spiritual journey is measured in the amount of inner peace one is able to sustain on his or her journey through the ever-changing circumstances of life. One's inner peace is not accomplished by controlling circumstances, but by flowing with circumstances, whether they comply with or oppose our personal wishes. Can we take that back again, please? Healing one's life requires healing one's mind. Healing one's mind requires spiritual practice and takes time. One's progress on the spiritual journey is measured in the amount of inner peace one is able to sustain on his or her journey through the ever-changing circumstances of life. One's inner peace is not accomplished by controlling circumstances, but by flowing with circumstances, whether they comply with or oppose our personal wishes. That said, I suppose most of you know or surmise that I'm a long-time practitioner of those truths. And it is very seldom that I am shocked by something, or the common expression today, this idiom, gobsmacked. I'm not gobsmacked at all. So taken aback where I lose my peace. It happens on rare occasions. And it happened on Wednesday last week. I took my dog Teton for a walk. He's about that size. That's not him, but that's what he looks like. And he's about that size. And so while I'm walking him, and he never stops hunting, but it doesn't, in the area, in the mountains where I live, there are rabbits. And this year there are a lot of rabbits. So 20 feet up the path just outside my house, which is a weather-worn road, a rabbit appears, and he just darts after the rabbit. I'm used to it. You extend the leash all the way to the end, yanks my arm out of the socket, and stands up on his hind legs pulling to get the rabbit. So I'm used to that. And then after that, I got him back, and the rabbit had disappeared into the bushes and trees. Maybe another 20 feet. Another rabbit appears on the road. I get the same thing. So he fires out there, does the same thing. And finally he's quieted down. I let him go. And now he's walking with me. He never stops sniffing from side to side, but he's walking with me. And I let him get behind me. And I wasn't aware. He had calmed down. And I was quiet. And he had stopped. And I didn't think anything about it. He stops and sometimes will sniff and sniff and sniff. And I just stare up the road until I heard him growling And as I turned around, he was face to face with the biggest dog I have ever seen. That's what the dog looked like. That's a bull mastiff, by the way. I don't know where that dog appeared or how he was not on a leash. And he had was at least 75 pounds bigger, broader in the shoulders and the head than my dog. Now what had happened was I had let the leash go. So he was just, Teton was behind me. My dog was behind me and I was waiting for him to catch up. Somehow or other, this monster dog had straddled the leash. So Teton was on the other side of this dog. And I turned around. I couldn't even see Teton. That dog was standing there. And the leash went under his legs into Teton's head. And I hear Teton growling. And this dog is making a growl underneath himself. And I've been in a situation like that before. And I just, I know one thing I have to do is remain calm. I can't allow adrenaline to flood me, because I've seen this with dogs. If your adrenaline gets up, they respond to it. And I'm just going, Teton, Teton, no, no. And what I did is I dropped the leash, because there's no way I could pull him. I'd have to pull him into the other dog. I dropped the leash and I start to go around the back of the other dog to try to get to Teton. And then as I got there, I said, Teton, Teton. And he leaped on this dog. And this monster dog just immediately pinned him down underneath. And I grabbed Teton by the back foot and I pulled him out from this dog who was screaming now. And Teton got loose and ran and leaped on him again. And this dog toppled him again. And this dog was about to take and bite his head off. When the master, who had been on the road walking, had run up and grabbed this monster dog by the leash, by the collar. And I at least could get under, and I grabbed Teton by the collar, and they were just screaming at each other, and I pulled him out from under and hooked up his collar to my leash, and I started up the road, and I got a little ways up the road. I could hear this guy saying, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I said, there's no need for that. It's just something beyond our control. That's the way I said it. Something we don't have any control over. And I got him leashed up and I kept going up the road. Now, back in the old days, I would have responded by saying, get that effing dog, that monster on a leash, you so-and-so, so-and-so, expletive. But I didn't. I really shared that moment truthfully. It was a moment beyond anyone's control. How that dog actually walked up the road as far as he did, his master was nowhere in sight. He had to be at least 20 yards behind him. And how he wound up on that side of Teton, I do not know. But it was a situation fraught with absolute danger. Anyway, we got going. I just wanted to share with you that I know back when I would have just screamed at this guy. But even when I did it, and the reason why I would have screamed at him, I mean, he should have, logically speaking, people think you should have your dog on a leash. But if I had screamed at him, it would have been the height of hypocrisy, because I have often walked my dog on that exact same road without a leash. It is only the reason why Teton was on a leash this time, because I'm trying to train him to heel, at least on this portion of road that still has its sporadic house here and there. Because we're heading up toward the wilderness, the forest, which is about 100 yards from my house. And so it would have been the height of hypocrisy at any point for me to have just been all over this guy. And in fact, when I get to the forest, I turn Teton loose. I let him run for about 20 minutes and do whatever hunting he wants to do in that time. He has about 20 minutes, sometimes a half hour before I get. There's a fire road that runs through the forest up there, and at the end of it, when I get to the end of it, Teton joins me, or I whistle and he comes to me. So I hook him up again. I don't trust him walking back toward the house on his own. Sometimes, on a rare occasion, he'll keep going so that he won't come back to me. And he'll wind up wandering through the neighborhood without a leash. But usually he comes back to me at the end of the run. I hook him up. I take him back to the house on a leash. And that's the way we've been doing it for, I think it's a little over 2 years now that I've had Teton. And my point this morning that I wish to make is that life is curvy. It's unpredictable. You can predict certain things and so much of life. I mean, we do that ourselves naturally. And we have certain expectations as we make our predictions about life. But at any given time, something can upend that perception that we have that all is going to be all right, and then all of a sudden something will happen and it's not all right. And those are the most difficult times to sustain this peace of mind. I think that this video that I'm going to share with you, Mike, we're going to skip the next PowerPoint and go right to the video. This next video that I want to share with you explains life in a more valid way. This is Alan Watts.
There is a dreadful exercise being used today called jogging, which has absolutely nothing to recommend it. Because to begin with, when I watch people jogging, they obviously show they don't know how to run. And there's a certain grim determination about joggers. They tend to run in straight lines, which they believe to be the shortest distance between 2 points. A straight line is not the shortest distance between 2 points on Earth, because Earth is wiggly. It is not a flat surface, except by courtesy of bulldozers and occasional freaks of nature. This world, as I keep repeating, is a fundamentally wiggly phenomenon. But wherever human beings have been around, you will see they have a passion for Euclideanism. Everything is ruled out in straight lines and put in boxes, and grid patterns of streets are laid across the surface of the earth. And that tells you human beings have been there. Why this passion for Euclidean order? Because Mr. Euclid had a very, very simple mind and tended to think in these rather uninteresting shapes instead of in curvaceous wiggles. Now, nobody would fall in love with a Euclidean woman. What we appreciate about women is their curvaceousness, their wiggliness. And wiggliness offends some people because they are not sure of it. They can't figure it out. You never know quite what it's going to do next. That's why people often don't like snakes, because a snake is the great symbol of wiggly vitality, of undulation, of waves. And all this world is fundamentally a system of wave vibrations. And if you cannot wave with it, if you are rigid, you will always be resisting life. So wiggliness and going with wiggliness, in other words, do you swing, is fundamental to the pleasure of life. But you see, where we think that order and getting things in order is getting them squared away, we always say, let's get it squared away. Let's get it straight. And so there are certain kinds of people who are called straights and squares, who do not swing. And as a result of that, they are out of harmony with a wiggly universe. And their attitudes range from cookery at one end to religion at the other, because a square religion is one that is too abstract, that resists the flow element of life. It wants a canal instead of a river, and it conceives heaven as a city rather than a rose garden. Paradise is a garden. And all the trouble began when people substituted the heavenly city for the paradise garden. When, in other words, popes began to be called urban and unbelievers were called pagan, because a paganus is a country dweller, a man of the wiggles, as distinct from a man of the streets, a liver under the sky instead of one who lives in a box. Because the box, you see, is the great symbol of classification. What box are you in? All words are labels on intellectual boxes. Is it animal? Is it vegetable? Is it mineral? 3 boxes. Is it solid or is it a gas? Is it Republican or is it Democrat? Is it capitalist or is it communist? Is it Christian or is it heathen? Is it male or is it female? All boxes. And so because we think in boxes, we live in boxes, all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same.
That beautifully shared wisdom reveals our calling into spiritual awareness. Isn't it amazing that we have to make an effort to realign our thinking in order to be able to be present and aware again of the miracle of being alive. So, life in our society today has, led us down this path of separation and fear and concern. So we're always trying to create the wall, the box, to keep ourselves safe from what's on the other side of it. And mostly what's on the other side of the wall is only our imagination. So that the greatest amount of suffering in a person's life is self-made, psychologically created out of some fear. Anyway, the Master of Life, Mike, if we can we go back to that PowerPoint I had before the video? The Master of Life said this in John 16, "I am not alone, for the Father is with me." Oh, if only people understood what led up to that and what that is really relating. But in any case, I'm trying to share this idea. I have said this to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. In the world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. Now that seems very hard for most people to understand, because the entire New Testament is about a inspirational vision of reality, a God-conscious vision that human beings were called to enter into. And that vision is gained through an element that we are not very wont to embrace in the Western culture. That element is surrender. The Master of Life can say that because what appeared to be a terrible historic event is really a metaphysical event for all human beings to understand. Can we grasp the idea that in the Garden of Gethsemane, before the guard of the priests came to arrest him and take him to Pilate, his disciples had slept while he prayed, and then he said to them as they were concerned, "Do you not understand that if I wanted to, I could call legions of angels in here? But that would mean the personal volition, the will to change. When what I am here," this is not in the Bible, what I'm saying now is I'm just embellishing what the Bible has related. I am here to reveal the necessity for the thinking, illusion-driven, initial state of consciousness to surrender to. Surrender. And surrender means we have to relax the illusion of knowing better, being smarter than, brighter than, capable of controlling circumstances. Because that's exactly what Alan Watts is saying as well. We've been born and raised in the illusion of creating the box in our own mind, and that which fits in the box goes along with what I expect and what I want others to honor in my own thinking. And what's outside the box is ostracized and kept out of, to the best of my ability, my experiences. But you can't keep it all out. When the Master says, in the world, and he's speaking about the thinking consciousness of the world, you have tribulation. That is written in such a way as there is no exception. You may think there are people that have risen beyond the conditions and circumstances that might assail them in their life. There is no such person. No matter how rich, how popular, how whatever you've become, which would seem to some people that will control circumstances, cannot. So that it is impossible except to be able to, and we are able to, be enlightened. Being enlightened does not eliminate difficulties, problems, challenges, interferences in our life. Being enlightened holds us in an awareness above all of that, so that we know life has its ups and downs. We know it so totally that when the life is down, we're not driven by useless, unnecessary suffering. So let me try to explain that with another analogy. A person who has been lost comes, and there's a huge wilderness now that this person has to cross, and he's wondering if he'll ever be able to get across that wilderness. But there's a horse tied up there with a saddle. And it says in a sign, "This horse is erratic and will buck unexpectedly." So the man will get on the horse, or the woman will get on the horse, and sees an opportunity to ride and get through this wilderness quickly. But the horse is going to buck at some point unexpectedly and throw the person off. And that's going to happen sporadically. Now, if the person believed the sign and really understood it, the person would not have any useless, unnecessary suffering. The horse is life. So those that understand that life has its downs, its problems may arise unexpectedly. When you get thrown down and you're in a more spiritual awareness, you suffer because you have been thrown off the horse. There is real suffering. But you don't suffer the disillusionment that this shouldn't be happening. You realize people are walking through life all the time, believing that their perception of what life should be and could be and must be will be, and yet they've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to realize there's no way that you can keep out that sporadic interference, that intrusion on your perception of what should be. You can't do it. You want religion, you want truth, practice this truth. You can't know what the future holds. It's curvy. Something may be around that curve you never really could even think of or expect. So, the masters of life, like Eckhart Tolle, who did his share of suffering, mostly mental for Eckhart Tolle, but he came out of it okay. And I'm going to throw you another curve here, Mike, because that's what this talk is all about. Mike, I don't want the next PowerPoint. I want the one after it. Can we get it? It's okay, Mike. Get it when you can, or if you don't get it, that's good too. Okay. This is the Master Eckhart Tolle in his book, Stillness Speaks, page 68, paragraph 3. When you completely accept this moment, when you no longer argue with it, the compulsion to think lessens and is replaced by an alert stillness. You are fully conscious, yet the mind is not labeling this moment in any way. This state of inner non-resistance opens you to the unconditioned consciousness that is infinitely greater than the human mind. This vast intelligence can then express itself through you and assist you both from within and from without. That is why, by letting go of inner resistance, you often find circumstances change for the better. Can we take this back again, please? One more. Back one more. Thank you. When you completely accept this moment, when you no longer argue with what is, the compulsion to think lessens and is replaced by an alert stillness. You are fully conscious, yet the mind is not labeling this moment in any way. This state of inner non-resistance opens you to the unconditioned consciousness that is infinitely greater than the human mind. The vast intelligence can then express itself through you and assist you both from within and from without. That is why, by letting go of inner resistance, you often find circumstances change for the better. That's all of it. There's no other religion that can top the truth of that. If we can get ourselves to that place, we would be entering a place called God consciousness. That means that this intelligence, infinitely greater than the human mind, which we have used and misused as long as we've been alive until we get to the place where we decide there has to be another way to live that actually brings more harmony, more healing, more peace, more love, more joy, a fearless existence. There is. But it requires spiritual practice. Because we have been operating strictly from the Euclidean, the intellectual, the illusionary separation consciousness, and it has held us in bondage to the changing tides and circumstances, the ever-changing tides and circumstances of life. We have been prisoners to it. So as it changes, we are tossed this way and that way, tossed to and fro. And we should be getting the lesson at a certain point that what Eckhart Tolle is prescribing is to practice, you've heard this before, practice the presence of God. Which is to be aware, to check yourself out now and again, and to catch yourself when you're having resistance to the moment as it is. Certainly there are moments that we have to work through and things we have to work out in the moments. But if we have this resistance to them, if the thought of this shouldn't be happening to me again, if you have that resistance, when you have that resistance, you are blocking the intuitive. You're blocking the spiritual that speaks through you and works with you to flow with circumstances regardless of whether they are in keeping with your expectations or opposed to your expectations. Here, the consciousness of God brings you into true life. If you want to find that life, you have to take to task your own awareness. So we will do one of the spiritual practices together now. We will practice meditation. Begin by taking a couple of deep breaths. As you release the breath, release any particular concerns that you may be harboring, causing you to have resistance or fear. Just breathing, remembering to breathe. remembering to breathe. And while you're doing that, remembering that life is a miracle, moment to moment to moment. God consciousness is always available. God is everywhere present. And so this is one of my chosen favorite mantras. The joy, peace of being is always here, now. The joy, peace of being is always here, now. The joy, peace of being is always here, now. As we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space, let's go forth with a greater devotion to the practice of the presence. For this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. Those of you watching online, we have these different ways that you can donate, or scroll down if you're watching the live stream to the place where it says donate. Appreciate it. And everyone here can bring to mind or bring into their hands that gift that they would like to make and are making. Some people are making their gift on a regular basis to Unity. So we bring to mind the gift to Unity of Boulder and bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O
Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of Truth, the Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of Truth. Amen. So for those of you that may want to stay and chat, you may want to have some questions about today's talk or be part of that discussion or anything to do with Unity. We have a fellowship hall that has refreshments. You can pick up some refreshments and circle up some chairs, and I'll be over there in a few minutes and we can have that discussion. Is there anything else we have on? That's it. Santisha will be officiating at the 11 o'clock service. You may want to hang out, have some refreshments, and come to the 11 o'clock service, because she also offers quite a bit of insight into living life effectively. Have a beautiful day.